Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, on Android. We recommend Spotify. Also, check out the Five Reasons YouTube channel for all your South Florida sports content. Also, Off the Floor, that's our Discord server. It's $2. It's 99 cents. That's it per month. I mean, seriously, it's a cup of coffee. Okay, check it out. This is the place for the most heat anywhere, the most heat information, the most conversation. We got 10 different channels. We got stage shows restarting. We got lots of stuff there. We put all of the Sports Illustrated stories that we're running the Heat page now. I don't know if people know that myself, Brady, Alex, Austin, and Major is now part of that group. So we're all going to be putting our stories there on Off the Floor. So make sure that you check it out. Also, PrizePicks, use the code 5, FIVE, put down your $5, play it. You get $50 in lineups right away. Daily fantasy simplified. We got the NFL, of course, the NHL is back as well, and the NBA is soon. So this is the best time of year to be on PrizePicks. Use the code 5, FIVE. It is legal in the state of Florida, and they got better plays on there than you'll find on that app that you hear about all the time. And now, today's episode.
Uh-oh. 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 Yeah. It's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation. We the culture. Yo, I need you to call timeout. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket. Open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pit. Still 5 on the floor. Still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court. Still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball. Or get burned from the keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleeping paths or allowed to morning. The love is sleeping us. Never catch us snoring. Live from Miami. Report in the heat with 5 Reasons Sports from the courts to the streets. Yeah. Wake County, Heat Nation, we say it proudly.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to Five on the Floor. I'm all over the place. I apologize for that. My ears are still ringing. No, we're not going to cut it out. We're going to leave it. It's still the off season. I apologize for that. My ears are still ringing. I took my daughter to her first concert last night, Billie Eilish, which actually I enjoyed it. But we were surrounded by basically, I mean, she was one of the younger ones there. But like 13 to 19-year-old screaming, it was a lot. It was a lot.
You're supposed to wear earplugs, Ethan. Come on.
Well,
man.
but then I really look like the old dude, and we're already at the stage now where it used to be grabbing my hand everywhere, and now it's like I touch her hand and I get the little, she's walking up the steps. So that's it happens. We all age. I'm aging faster than most, and unfortunately, she's not going to be around her father very much longer. But I'm trying to enjoy it as I can. So there we go. And the good thing is she shares a lot of my musical taste too. So next time we'll be. I mean, I listen to everything, so we'll be at something else. But it was fun. So anyway, my ears are ringing. Today's floor plan. I'm going to try to get through this podcast anyway. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick on 5 Reasons Sports. We got Eternal Bast. You can follow me at Eternal Bast. You can also find him on Playback. Our Discord and everywhere else. We never got to this the other day, and I wanted to make sure that we did. It actually happened, or the news broke. Shams broke the news that Erik Spoelstra was going to be the U.S. Olympic coach, which, by the way, the Heat have not put this out yet. So Shams beat the Heat to it. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of a presser related to it specifically, in addition to Spo being asked to address it. But this happened while Brady and I were finishing a podcast about Kasparis. So it was like 3 minutes left, and then this happened. So we mentioned it there, but didn't get into it. And I just want to get into the ramifications of it. Because I sort of on the podcast talked about, the honor of it, which is tremendous. You're talking about somebody who at age 37 was, an assistant under Stan Van Gundy. Prior to that, he was in the film room. When Pat Riley arrived in 1995, he chose to keep Erik Spoelstra. Spo at that point would have been 1995. Let's see, he's 3 years old. He would have been 25 years old. He's 3 years older than me. So he would have been in the film room at that time. He kept him. They groomed him, so to speak. He learned the Heat way. He became pretty much a lead assistant under Stan. Pat kept him in a similar role going forward, along with obviously all of those sort of more veteran assistants, Ron Rothstein, Bob McAdoo, etc. Spo took the job in 2008, and he had 2 years with Dwayne and not much else. Apologies to UD and Michael Beasley and Quentin Richardson, but that team sort of maxed out where it should have maxed out, which was the first round. Then they went and got the big three, and as Spo has said to me before, and I know he has said it since, he could have been fired on 3 different occasions. He could have been fired when they went and got LeBron, because another organization probably would have gotten a bigger name coach. He could have been fired when they were 9-8. And they had Bumpgate and that meeting in Dallas and everything else that went along those lines. And then he could have been fired at the end of that season when they flamed out in the finals. Now, mostly LeBron's fault, but Spo kind of got out coached by Rick Carlisle in that series. He waited too long to put Chalmers in for Bibby. Again, I don't know that it matters with LeBron playing his head was in his bleep, but it is what it is. And so Spo, they kept him, they backed him. And now I think, what are we at? 4 or 6 straight years that the NBA Executive Survey, the 30 GMs, has voted him the best coach in the league. And now he has succeeded Steve Kerr, who succeeded Greg Popovich, who succeeded Mike Krzyzewski, who succeeded Chuck Daly. I mean, that's a lineage, man. That's pretty damn good. And so I just think, before we get into the ramifications of it, just the honor is tremendous, and it's one that really was met, when Shams reported it, with kind of universal understanding and acclaim. Of course, he would be the Olympic coach. Why wouldn't he be? And so I think that tells you where Spo is in the league right now.
Yeah, I think we for a long time have seen Spo kind of garner the respect of his peers, as far as fellow coaches and those and executives and even the players, for a very, very long time, at least 10 plus years, right? Once he got past the initial stage of the Big Three era, and was really the pace and space is where I think where it started, as far as him gaining recognition and respect and honor for his coaching pedigree. And it started to build from there. And I think from then, especially after going through the years without Wade and Bosh, and then getting Wade back, it started to grow even more. And you started to see the teacher side of Spo grow, in him being able to kind of really not just be a great coach, but be a great human being with it, that it showed, on the sideline and off of the sideline, how he checked on guys. And there's a story that you shared that, he sent flowers to Josh. Anybody that talks about Spo, those of us that are blessed to be behind the scenes, you just hear nothing but great things about Spo. So it's not surprising that he has built that type of pedigree around the league, and that players respect him as much as they do.
Well, and I think that story you told, I love that story, because Joe Goodman, who covered the Miami,
Joe Goodman,
who covered the Miami Herald, Miami Heat for the Miami Herald during the Big Three era, friend of mine, his son passed, and it was really tragic. And I flew up to Alabama along with some others for the ceremony. And when we arrived, the Heat had sent flowers up there. But when Joe really got choked up was, obviously he was choked up a lot, as anybody would be, but he was kind of holding it together. And then he came out and he says, "Look what Spo just sent me." And he sent him this lengthy text, as Joe was going through that kind of stuff. And that is the kind of thing that he does for obviously the people that he works with more intimately as a coach and in the organization. And it is why they back him to the degree that they do. But also it's a tactical thing here too. It's been his willingness to learn from others. LeBron actually referenced this on a recent podcast where he talked about the 2011 offseason, and that Spo kind of unlocked everything by going to talk to Chip Kelly in particular, but also other NFL coaches. And that's where pace and space came from. They changed everything they did. he had, for someone who Heat fans believe is stubborn, and I do think he has some stubborn
Oh,
qualities.
he definitely got that from Pat. He definitely
Yeah,
got some. Yeah.
he has some stubborn stuff. Like, I mean, the Terry Rozier stuff last year was so stubborn that, like, I tell you, there were other people in the organization who were like, they didn't understand what he was doing, but it's Spo, so they'll defer. But he's also been stubborn about things like Drew Smith, because that's something a lot of people in the organization did not understand when he was saying he's going to be better than Gabe, and they kept keeping him. They've kept him through injuries, and I still think Drew Smith may end up starting on opening night. So, there's been some stuff, but otherwise there has been a flexibility, a willingness to kind of pick up other styles. And if you look at what's happening now with the Heat on the court, and we'll see if it works. I don't know if they have quite the right personnel for it. I feel like once Kasparis becomes their starting point guard, which is not going to happen right now, then they may have the right personnel for it, and they're leading that direction. But Spo's sort of introduction to the European game in a more consistent way over the past few years, and also working with Kerr, who did bring a lot of concepts to the NBA. I know Warriors fans are frustrated with him for not developing young players and all that, but Kerr's whole idea of sort of read and react offense, which is a lot easier when you have Steph Curry and when you had Kevin Durant, but is something that he's kind of continued there, is also something I think Spo picked up from. And Spo's, initial influences were people like, Rick Adelman, but also Mike D'Antoni, who he used to reference a lot. And you've seen some of that. The frustrating thing has been it has not translated to great offense in recent years. But again, I think that's more a factor of personnel than it is of him. And I think it's easier for him to lean into the defensive elements that he knows he can get certain groups to do, as opposed to the offensive elements, which have been more challenging. And even the big three are Eternal. That training camp, that very first training camp, all they did was drill defense. They didn't work on any offense. And that team was offensively challenged, even with Dwayne, LeBron, and Chris. For the first couple months of that season, their whole offense was predicated off turnovers and skirmishes and fast breaks. I mean, that was pretty much what it was. So, again, he has evolved in some ways. We saw the drive and kick offense with a 16-17 team with Waiters and Dragic. And he's got to find a style for this team. But I think it's somewhat personality. He has endeared himself to a lot of different people while being authentic. And if you know Spo a little bit, you know that what you've seen in press conferences in recent years is not necessarily what you get on the side. But now we're starting to see what's on the side a little bit more in the press conferences.
Yeah.
Right. The way he's handled the Ware thing is more the kind of bleep as he was bleeping and bleeping and bleeping, which he does a lot on the side, that he would say there that he wouldn't necessarily take to the presser. And I think that is a result. And on the other side, we'll get to kind of what this means. But I think that is kind of a result of him being in a space now where he's the longest tenured coach in the NBA. He has one of the longest contracts going forward. He's the Olympic team coach now. Like, nobody's going to tell him bleep. If I'm saying, like, and really can't at this stage, except us. And we'll criticize him for this move or that move, and we'll feed into Twitter and all that. And then, he'll eventually come around to our line of thinking as he has many times before. On the other side of this, though, I want to get to your thoughts on what this means for the Heat as organization, because I do think it's significant. I think it matters. Before we do, what's significant? Car accident. You don't want one of them, so just avoid them. Okay, we always talk about the sponsor, but it's better to just avoid the accident. But if you have one, we've got a very simple phone number, 305. Okay, we know some of you live in the 954-786, whatever, 561, but still it's 305-800-PAIN, 305-800-PAIN. They will connect you to their network of attorneys to work on your case right away. They are bilingual. That's always very helpful down here in South Florida. Doral, they're based in Doral, but they service all of Dade County, Broward County. They'll get you to the right person, and really good people. Manny, Danny, their whole crew down there. We're going to do more podcasting from there as well. So check them out. It's 305-800-PAIN. They want to make this process as painless as possible for you when you have a car accident. That's what they're there for. And again, the phone number is the brand, 305-800-PAIN. So the next step is what this means. And I think there's two things, but I want to get your thoughts on the idea of him being the face of USA basketball at a time where the Heat are looking to get their next star.
I think it means a lot. I mean, Spo is one of them coaches, like we just talked about in the first half, who is highly regarded around the league. I mean, there's a famous little picture of Anthony Edwards' hands on Spo's shoulder as they share a smile together. Very mischievous smile. And I know a lot of Heat fans have kind of speculated, a lot of things, but I think besides whatever fantasy that you have in your head, I think the realistic part of it is that the guys will get a real sense of how Spo runs things. How he operates practice, how he holds players accountable, how he pushes players, things of that nature. Like on the U.S. national team, these big time coaches normally take on assistant roles that you would normally see with regular teams. And so like Spo spent some time with Bam working on his game. And I'm sure the other coaches did that working with other players and, all of these other things as far as whatever the head coach game plan is. And so Spo will be able to be in this position where he is designing the game plan for the team. Of course, utilizing his assistant coaches, but players would get a sense of that and get a feel of that and how Spo operates, practices and things of that nature. And for some that may be on the fence of whatever their situation is with their respective team, that may be a very, very good, pushing factor for them to be like, you know what, like that's somebody I want to go play for, which he already has gotten, over the years anyway. So this would just push that further in that direction.
This is why I think it's so important. And I think you started to hit on it there. This all kind of aligns for the Heat.
All right.
At this point. All right. Let's take a look at a variety of timelines. And it's important, right, that he's the head man in charge. It's different when you're the assistant there. And look, Ty Lue could have gotten this gig. I mean, Ty Lue's been on that staff. He's highly respected around the NBA. He has a championship. He has LeBron's blessing. So like that, it certainly could have been Ty Lue. It wasn't Ty Lue. It was Spo. We thought it was going to be Spo. I think we would have been surprised if it wasn't Spo. But here's how this all aligns. So you've got 2026 that he's going to be with the U.S. team at the World Cup, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. We also know that Pat Riley is not going to be running the Miami Heat forever. He's not really running it the way he used to. It's more of a collective. We've already got Pat Riley court. It's all kind of moving in that direction. Erik Spoelstra is likely going to be the face of the Heat after Pat. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to have final say. Nick Harrison is likely going to retain final say. They're likely going to consult with Adam Simon and Zoe and everybody else. And obviously, Mickey has a role in it, that has been doing this work as they've gone forward. And Spo has been one of those voices in the room as well, but as has Pat. The current generation is not as familiar with Pat as they are with Spo. They're just not. Greg and I have talked about that. Okay. And part of it is from the Olympic team. Part of it is he's been the man in the finals. And, over these recent years. And look, Pat has, as the coach of the Miami Heat, not as the executive of the Miami Heat, but he's been in one finals, right? 2006. That's it. Okay. And we've been doing these 20th anniversary episodes, but it's 20 years. I mean, it's a long time. Okay. So Spo has been in how many? 4, 5, 6, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's a lot of spotlight time. And it's with different players. Now, I know things didn't end well with Jimmy, but it was with Jimmy. It was with LeBron. It was with Dwayne. It was with, he was also obviously an assistant with the Shaq team. So this is high profile stuff that he's been in. He's been around these players. And now let's look at something else. As Spo shifts to maybe being the face of this franchise, which again, I believe to a certain degree, he already is to the players. Now you sign a contract with Jovic that basically gives you flexibility in the summer of 27. Not a little bit more, not a lot, but a little bit more. The contract was purposefully put together not to sort of build or descend, but to stagger. Okay. You're creating the 27 class. The 26 class is not going to be what people thought. Everybody pivoted off of that already. And the 27 class may not be what people think because there may be, players who don't decline their player options, or there, although I think most will. Okay. Or there may be players who are traded beforehand or sign extensions beforehand. Everything could change. But anyway, everything's been kind of pushed back to 27 by a lot of NBA teams. It's not just the Heat. Right. Golden State has aligned everything for 27. Giannis could be available as a free agent in 27. There's a lot of guys who could be a free agent. There's Steph Curry at age whatever. He's going to be 62 years old, could be a free agent at 27.
Let's just cut the bullshit, Ethan. We know where you're pushing this, all right? You mentioned Jovic. You mentioned Spo. You were Spo talked to the Serbian coach. You want Jokic. I got you. Y'all can aggregate this. Ethan is saying the Miami Heat and Erik Spoelstra are going to go out.
I'm an aggregator now, Eternal, and I would not aggregate it. But I'm simply saying there's a lot of players. Jokic is one of them that could be available at that time. He's going to be playing. He's going to be coaching against some of these players in addition to coaching some of these players. At the same time, he's shifting into more and more of a prominent role with the Heat and finding his voice more and more. Okay, which is why I like the stuff that's happening with Ware. So it all kind of fits together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking more the guy in Minnesota than the guy in Denver, but because he's going to be coaching him directly, and my thing on the guy in Minnesota, and I've said this before, okay, is I do think that A-Rod and his group buying that team makes it less likely that Ant leaves because the Glenn Taylor experience was not positive for anybody. There's a lot of positive momentum with Minnesota now. They're going to retire KG's jersey. They have put together competitive teams. Obviously, they got to the conference finals, even while not really spending deep into the tax. I don't know how much money A-Rod's group has, but I'm assuming it's going to be more than Glenn Taylor would used to spend. We'll see. Okay. So I'm not totally convinced that Ant's going to leave, but he's now one of the faces of the league, Eternal. Okay. He's one of the guys that gets talked about on First Take and everywhere else. And it gets frustrating when you don't finish. Okay. It just, right. And so I'm watching that situation only because if you have a couple of like first round exits for Ant over the next couple of years, and he is the best player on the U.S. Olympic team under Erik Spoelstra, which is very possible if they go young and you don't have Durant play and you don't have LeBron play and you don't have Steph play, because those three guys carried them over the finish line last time, which is one of the reasons Ant didn't have that kind of role. Then I do think there is something to be said for the face of the Miami Heat organization, coaching a guy who clearly already likes him, has a skill set that's similar in some ways to two of the best players in Heat history, Jimmy and Dwayne. Just throwing it out there. I think that's why I'm saying, like, this is a positive development. And by then too, the Heat should have more of these young players that have popped in some way. You hope. Okay. We're seeing some signs of it, either as trade candidates if you have to go get them early, or as or as players he can join if you do have the opportunity to clear space. I'm just saying, like, I need something to look forward to in my old age, and that's the one. That's the one that I'm targeting. I mean, can you see it? Can you see the vision?
But I think the other thing too, which I sure will touch on another episode, is just like, it's not just that Spo is a great coach, and I think he touched on it. Michael Beasley touched on it, that they were both young when they had each other.
Yeah.
But I've always said that the Spo now would be so much better for him because of how great of a teacher he is. Now, you can see some of that even with Khalil. It's not just him calling out Khalil, it's him challenging him and also giving him a little bit of praise that kind of pushes you, and how he challenges people. Goran Dragic talked about it as well, as far as how he pushes Nico, right? Like, he pushes you like that because he sees something in you,
But he's pushing the younger players, and I thought it was interesting. He made a comment, because there are some times where he kind of gets his back up a little bit about some things, or perceptions of him. And he made a comment on Media Day. I think it was related to being asked about whether or not he went and told Norm what he expected from him. And he said, no, a previous version of me would have done that. I hope I'm recounting it correctly, but it struck me when he said it. There was he makes that comment a lot now, okay, about a previous version of himself, and he wants people to know that he's grown as a coach. I don't think
he has, for sure.
No, but I don't think the veteran player is who he's trying to. Well, I think what he's trying to do is he sees a future in this organization. Obviously, for a lot of these guys, he knows that he's going to be tied to this organization. He may be the face of this organization. He needs these guys to grow to get to that level, not only so that they can compete now, but so that they can compete for the best players to join them.
All right.
And again, to cycle back to what this episode was originally about, the idea now that he is going to be the man on top of USA basketball. The only pitfall here is I don't know how good their team's going to be, because the other teams around the world, Eternal, are getting better. And Durant, for a while, it was Carmelo, Kobe, etc., Dwayne, but then it was it's been KD.
You had Russ. You had some other guys that came right after Kobe, Wade,
Right.
Ron, and Bosh. And
The best
Carmelo.
players in the NBA right now are not mostly American.
And you can't count on. Well, I guess you got Cade. I guess so. Ant Cade. You have some guys that are in the pilot. Yeah. You got some guys that are in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting for sure, but it's a
international competition is different. Even LeBron and Dwayne and Carmelo learned that in their first year when they didn't get out there very much. Remember in 04, it is different. These guys are going to have to adjust that. Like, there's no question in my mind, Bam's on this team now, right? Like that. I mean, they're right. Okay. So Bam's going to be on the team and he'll be one of the leaders of the team, but he's not going to be one of the leading scorers of the team. It's going to be on Spo to reach. And I'm curious to see who he takes as one of his assistants. Cause obviously I don't think Steve's going to be on the staff now. So who he takes in addition to the guys, maybe he takes Ty again, or somebody else that's in the NBA. But he's going to have to get. I mean, Cade is right. That's one of the names. Paolo is one of the names. Ant is one of the names. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, Tatum's one of the names. Okay, he's going to be there. There's no question. Provided that he's healthy, and I'm not the biggest Tatum fan, but provided that he's healthy. And Cooper Flagg's going to be one of those names.
Oh yeah, true. AD might. I mean, well, it depends. AD might be one of them in the World Cup.
I doubt he takes. I doubt by then AD's age, injury history, and if Bam's already on the team, I would be surprised. I mean, I think you could look at Evan Mobley more likely.
Yeah, Evan Mobley. Probably Jaren Jackson again. Jaren had a really strong season last year. Maybe
Jaren wasn't good in international competition.
No, he wasn't. But I'm saying as far as like getting a redemption.
Yeah, I think Mobley's more likely. And we'll see. There could be players in this draft class that pop. I mean, there's a lot of interesting players in this particular draft class. So there's guys. I mean, Stephon Castle could be a guy that emerges as. No,
I definitely would make him a lock. I would put him down as a lock.
There's going to be talent to choose from. There's not going to be, because there was this age gap between, again, sort of that core three, right? Steph, LeBron, and KD. And then kind of these young guys, there wasn't really that middle group. Like Tatum's part of that middle group, but there aren't a lot of those guys. And maybe Jaylen Brown, decide maybe that, you get him back involved this time. I would assume Halliburton, provided he's healed. I don't know about Brunson in this competition. I was not a huge fan of what he provided in those circumstances, but Halliburton didn't play a whole lot, but again, he's a distributor. He gets people involved. And so there will be choices, but I'm just saying it's not as simple as, all right, we're just going to grab, these three guys, they know how to play in this competition. And when things get, dicey in the last 5 minutes, we're going to KD, Steph, and LeBron. Okay. And everybody else get the hell out of the way. Anyway, Eternal, appreciate it. We got more podcasts to get to. Everybody check out the Sports Illustrated content as well. But this is, to me, and not that it was unexpected, it was one of the better developments of the summer for the Miami.
Right.
I think so. It just makes everything align a little easier. All right, have a good one, everybody.
All right, peace out.